Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sports Live with Steve and Justin. How are you, Justin?
Exhausted, just catching up.
Yeah.
I'm
Justin,
good.
Justin
I'm
and
doing
I
all right.
spent like 3 days prepping and cooking for a fundraiser together, and oh
We did all
god,
right.
well, we did all right. It was a good fundraiser. Justin did better than I did, but it was a good fundraiser. But in the middle of this infamous fundraiser, the world be known that the NBA is under scrutiny, under a lot of things from the United States government on these crazy indictments dealing with professional sports betting as well as fixing poker games. Now, I don't think Justin and I are going to really get into the poker game stuff, but it's basically NBA players and past players participated with organized crime to run poker games that were basically fixed. The card shuffling devices, and I spent some time with the indictment today. The card shuffling devices were fixed. They were using wireless communications to kind of guess things. And there's some millions and millions of dollars where people taken as honest players were taken because they played in these games in New York City and the Hamptons and around the world. Anything you want to comment about that before I move on to the next indictment?
I'm just glad I didn't have enough money to play in those games.
Yeah. Well, you may have said that before, but I'm not sure about now. But anyway, so right after that or simultaneously, another indictment, which I hold in my, I was going to say puny little hands, but my hands are like tennis rackets. In my hands is a second indictment, which I find more troubling than the first indictment. Not only were there NBA players involved, but it deals with directly fixing basketball games in a certain way, and they kind of push it on lesser players. But so I'm just going to go through a couple of things, if you don't mind, and then we can start talking about it later. So, as we know, sports betting in this show has not been looked upon as favorable, only because of the amount of owners and players that are involved in these sports betting. I don't want to say schemes, but operations. But anyway, in this there are, there's some bad guys, as they would say, organized crime guys that are involved here. Those are the ones that are indicted, but there are a lot of players that are named as co-conspirators. Strangely enough, they're not unindicted co-conspirators is the word you usually use. They're just used as co-conspirators. So this was a sealed indictment. And for those of you who don't know what a sealed indictment is, that means that the judge, after the indictment is brought by the grand jury, the judge then, at his discretion, can seal an indictment. This way, the public knows nothing about it. Only law enforcement knows anything about it. And that's their ability to further investigate, even though this indictment has been brought, not only to further investigate, but to coordinate the arrests. Like an indictment like this, there are arrests made across the country. And usually those arrests are all made simultaneously. And usually at 5 o'clock in the morning when you're in your underwear. And I would say I've participated in some, but have been attorney in some of these indictments where defendants call you at 4 o'clock in the morning and say, I'm sitting in my underwear and handcuffs on my couch. I have 4 FBI agents and maybe labor racketeering or somebody else in my living room. You're my one phone call. Thank you for answering. And basically what it is they call you from outside and say, Mr. X, Mr. X, this is the FBI. We are outside your front door. You have a choice. You're either going to let us in and surrender, or we're going to break your door down and come in. Decide. And, obviously they're coming in no matter what. So you might as well just let them in and surrender. Every once in a while, you'll get a call. Like if you have an attorney and you've dealt with them before, they'll call your attorney and say, "Listen, we're going to arrest your guy. If he doesn't surrender by 4 o'clock today, you make arrangements and you surrender." Because listen, they want to arrest you. I don't know what other than being dead and buried in the ground, you're getting arrested.
Yeah.
That's really the way it is. I had a client that was in Canada fly fishing, and he got a call from the FBI. He said, "Listen, we're either going to come there or you're going to come back to America and surrender." So, I mean, they have as the term has always been, the long arm of the law. So there are a lot of, so not only these organized crime guys that are named alleged organized crime, so that were alleged in this fixing. Um, and I just was looking at background. B. I just want to read a little bit to give you an idea what was going on here, or at least what the allegations are in this. The NBA, and this is the NBA and betting companies. The NBA, a professional basketball league in North America, among others. The NBA teams include the Hornets, the Bulls, the Cavaliers, the Clippers, the Lakers, the Bucks, the Pelicans, the Thunder, the Magic, the Sixers, the 76ers, the Trailblazers, the Kings, the Raptors. Strangely, there are some teams not mentioned here. And you would think that
Some glaring omissions.
the teams that are mentioned for a reason. The
Right.
NBA maintained codes of conduct acceptable to players and coaches. Managers prohibited, among other things, in wagering in connection with NBA games, providing non-public information to NBA games and to others. Such codes of conduct also require NBA players and coaches and management to provide their best services and loyalty to their teams. NBA teams are required to report to any NBA information concerning player injuries, illnesses, and all NBA games. On each game day, the NBA disseminates a injury report for the NBA team playing that day. The injury report identifies players as falling within one of the categories: available, probable, questionable, doubtful, and out. The injury reports are updated multiple times throughout each game day. Betting companies 1 through 4 entities entities of which have been known to the grand jury were licensed gambling companies operating in the United States that offered sports betting services, collectively known as the betting companies. The betting companies offered sports betting services relating to, among other things, NBA games, individual player statistic performances, and NBA games. Since approximately 2021, Betting Company 1 and Betting Company 2 have been co-official sports betting partners of the NBA.
They don't name them specifically.
Not really.
I mean, we know who they are, but okay.
So they name other individuals. They're named. One is a player. I don't know if you want me to give their name or not.
Player number 3.
No, well, they're co-conspirators, identified known to the grand jury residents of Florida, who was an NBA player. There are a couple of NBA players mentioned. There's an NBA coach. Here's
There's
the
a lot of stones to be turned
lot.
over.
Right. So it says on or about between 2022 and 2024, December to March. Defendants, those are the defendants in her name. I think one of them is a player, I think Rozier. Together with others, there's that others again, participated in non-public information relating to the NBA games to place or cause others to place fraudulent state wagered bet sports wagers for profit and to launder the proceeds thereof. In other words, you have to launder it because it's an illegal activity and it's illegal gotten gain, so it automatically becomes illegal profits. So
Right.
basically, I mean, the short story is here, that players and coaches, seems like more than one, more than a couple, gave information to these wagerers that they were going to be out for the game before it became public information, which of course would change the odds on the team. If it's a superstar or the important person to that team. And we know that over the past 4 or 5 years, there's been a lot of talk in the NBA about players needing these, I don't know, days off. I don't know what they call them. I always think of them as a mental health day, like you took
Rest days.
rest days. And so these rest days are not days dealing with injuries. They're just days that they decide to rest. Now, if you knew ahead of time that you were going to rest and it wasn't public information, which it's usually not, because a rest day doesn't have to be disseminated under the injury rule, I do not believe. You don't find out till game time.
Game time.
Right. So
Healthy scratch.
healthy scratch. So these are others. So the long and short of this indictment is that people were placing bets and locking in whatever the payoff rates were on a normal
Before they changed.
because the player stood out.
Right.
It's just like investing in the market. When you invest in the market and you have confidential information, they call it insider trading. It's very similar to insider trading, what's going on here. They're placing bets with information that's not publicly known.
Yep.
And it seems like this has been going on for years. A lot of people want to say it's a new development. It is not a new development. It's been going on long before the head of the FBI was there and long before the head of the Department of Justice was there.
Absolutely.
So I came across this today, and Justin, I'm going to give you a chance to comment on all this stuff. I just wanted to go through some factual stuff. Is a letter from the United States Congress, House of Representatives Committee on Energy and Commerce. And it's to Adam Silver from this committee, and it's dated October 24th, 2025, which is at the moment we're recording this today, correct? Today's 24th, or was that yesterday? Oh, no, it was Friday.
Oh, that was Friday because the barbecue was the 25th, right?
Sorry. So it was Friday. So first thing this letter says is that, they're basically that the U.S. House of Representatives Committee on Energy and Commerce is examining the allegations of illegal gambling in sports rigging that resulted in tens of millions of dollars in fraud, theft, and robbery, and the arrests of current and former NBA players and coaches. The committee has, and this letter is to Adam Silver, the commissioner. The committee has jurisdiction over interstate commerce, consumer protection, and sports. Of note, the committee has a long-standing role in oversight of integrity and fairness in sports, including to steroid use, as we know, doping measures in the Olympics, sexual abuse in the Olympics. So we know they've investigated that before, and they mention other times that they've looked into other issues where people have been found to be gambling, whether it's baseball, whether it's basketball, and I think there's one on a NCAA issue here. So I just want to say one other thing. So what seems to be a further motivation for Congress is that, and they quote in their letter, on October 21st, 2025, during your appearance on the Pat McAfee show, you stated, and I quote, the commissioner that is, I think probably there should be more regulations on sport betting. During this interview, you also stated that the NBA asked sports bet partners to cease offering proposition bets, prop bets, as they're colloquially known, on players on two-way contracts to underperforming games. You've proposed, that's not what that word is, but that players on two-way contracts that play in both NBA as well as developmental G League may be more prone to manipulation to alter the game's outcome. So that it seems like Congress has taken you know, to task the commissioner that these things have been going on, maybe, and
Yeah,
he's known about them and hasn't done
absolutely.
anything about them. It seems to me that's what they're saying. But anyway, the committee and its oversight requests a briefing no later than October 31st, 2025, which is a week, right? They gave him a week,
Yep.
24th to the following, to address the following things. One, details about fraudulent and illegal and alleged betting practices in connection with the NBA players, coaches, and officials, including the actions of the NBA players, the coaches identified in recent indictment, as well as prior instances, some of which are identified above. That they went through a litany of other things that have happened. Two, actions of the NBA intends to take a limit the disclosure of non-public information for illegal purposes. Obviously, they would probably take exception to that and say we never disseminate any information for illegal purposes. But
Of course.
what you're going to find, and I'm just guessing, is that people that make these kind of bets, bookies, if you will, or people of nefarious backgrounds, would have a conversation with an NBA player, and that NBA player would then give confidential information, at least at that point, to the bettor, and they would place a bet at that time. I think you're going to find some of that. Whether the NBA codes of conduct for the players and coaches effectively prohibits illegal activity, including the disclosure of non-public information, public purses, illegal betting schemes, and an explanation for the gaps, if any. Why did you let this happen? In other words, in regulations to allow illegal betting schemes to occur. What are those things that you have there that allow these things to happen? Whether and how the NBA is reevaluating its terms in its partnerships with sports betting companies. So it seems like everybody's up in arms. And, you know, I have to say before I turn it over to Justin here, I have to say, while watching the games this weekend, I've never seen so many announcers point out or target calls that don't make sense. And this weekend, it was front
Happened.
and center.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot. Um,
I
there's a
know
lot to unwrap.
I threw a lot out there, but I
Yeah. I
wanted to
mean,
just go through the facts of what we're talking about.
yeah. So let's remember that this all comes down to money at the end of the day, right? So you can start there, and we can go back many, many, many years. I mean, gambling and sports go hand in hand in this country, but there were certain things in place that before 2018 prevented things like this from happening on a large scale. And one of those things was the Professional and Amateur Sports Protection Act of 1992, which oddly enough was championed by former New York Knicks world champion Bill Bradley, who pushed for a law to protect players from nefarious actors and targeting them to be accomplices, I guess, in fixing games. And, you know, you think when you hear fixing games, you think, Black Sox scandal. So this, again, goes back a long time. But in 2018, that law was overturned. And it was, uh, there's a lot of spin, right? There's a lot of spin and narrative control trying to happen right now. You've
Absolutely.
got you've got two major sports betting companies that advertise with all four major sports. You have a sports media company that shows all these games and is involved with both all four leagues and both gambling companies. And you have the employees of that sports media giant trying to spin a narrative here that this is something other than what we're seeing, that this is some sort of targeted harassment against the league and its players and what have you. I don't believe that for 1 second because this investigation itself started over 2 years ago. So this is not a one sided issue or an act of targeting by anyone. This is an illegal activity. You have a coach whose player is involved in whether it's point shaving, prop bet, under whatever the case may be. The guy was not playing on the up, right? So this investigation went on for 2 years. The NBA investigated it and found nothing. According to them, they found nothing, right? So, and this is not the first time because back in 2007 they investigated. I forgot who it was, and they blamed. I mean, the official was guilty, but they said they found nothing. Right? It was kind of washed or swept under the rug. But where there's smoke, there's fire. I'm trying to do this without mentioning names and entities because I don't want to get us in trouble. But it's all out there. You just have to do the research and find it. So 34 people were arrested on Thursday. Uh, allegations involve leaks of non-public information. So it's player reports before the player report comes out. So, like you mentioned before, players are listed as available, questionable, doubtful, limited, et cetera, et cetera. That information comes out after practice, and like you said before, they update the player status daily, multiple times a day. So, it just happened yesterday with in the NFL with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson was listed as doubtful. Then they said he practiced. Then he was listed as out for the game. We thought he was going to play. The NFL stepped in and said, "Wait a minute, did he practice? Did he not practice? How many did he take reps with the first team? Because then he should be listed as limited if he didn't fully practice." So
Right.
the Ravens were like, "He's out. He's not playing." So, and that was a late scratch. The Packers also had a late scratch. Their kicker came back late afternoon. He'd been out for 2 or 3 weeks with a hamstring. He got listed as likely to play or whatever it was. And the backup was listed as NA because he was demoted off, I guess, back to the practice squad. But that happened like right before the game, like maybe a couple hours before the game. But anyway, that's how those things kind of operate. And if you have that information before it's public, you can place a wager knowing that it's coming. And that clearly is going to affect the outcome of the game, especially if it's a prop bet. So then you have the coach, the player from Miami. You have another ex-player, a Lakers assistant, um, that was part of this arrest, and is involved. You have the NBA commissioner's comments, calls the comments deeply disturbing. Well, you know, don't you think as commissioner of any league, the last thing you want to do is be involved with any sports gambling entity whatsoever? It's it's absurd to me that they're playing victim or that I didn't know. They all know. The House Oversight Committee knows, the NBA knows, the commissioners of all three other major sports know. This has been going on for a long time.
Well,
And
originally, they were not involved with the sports betting proposition. But what happened was they started to realize that it's their product that all these sports companies are making money off of.
yep.
So they said, listen, if you guys are going to make money off of it, you're going to pay us because we're trying to run these operations.
And the minute they did that, they made themselves even more susceptible to nefarious activity
Correct.
because they got in bed with nefarious people. It's that simple. You can't ask for money and take the money and expect a clean exchange. It doesn't work that way. In real life, you and I both know it doesn't work that way.
Well, what's
You
funny
scratch my
is
back, I scratch your back.
you didn't really have that much when sports betting was totally illegal because the people you were defrauding were people you did not want to
Did not
defraud.
want to defraud.
And
Right.
so it didn't there were there were very swift ways to do that, right?
Correct. And the sports betting entities that exist, the .coms and apps, if you will, they have it in their little terms of service fine print that they're not responsible for any of that. They've let themselves off the hook. And the minute you sign up for that app and send them your money, you're at bay. You have no recourse. If they decide, you know what, we're gonna dismiss that bet and not pay you because this happened or that happened, or it was, a guy sneezed and it changed the outcome of the game. It's not, uh, that people engage in it is silly to me because they know it's going on. They know and they're gonna, even after this, they're still gonna do it. Total degeneracy. Um, you have a former NBA official making claims on a podcast about this scandal and involving an attorney, a U.S. attorney that investigated claims before and found nothing, and then got a job inside the NBA. And that was under David Stern. The NBA earns, I have it here, $1.4 billion annually from sponsorships through betting partners that contributed 140 to 280 million dollars.
So how many NBA teams are there?
30 something, 30, 32. I don't even know. Co-official betting partners since 2021 provide 30 to 50 million dollars each annually via NBA bet shows, ads, and data deals. That includes Amazon, NBC, etc. And there's a demand for all of this stuff. So, I mean, it's there. They know what they're doing. They're getting involved, right? Uh, but just go back to 2018. That's when PASPA was overturned, and then you've got. I'm not going to give the names of the people other than Bill Bradley, who played for the Knicks. He was the one who initially championed PASPA, but that was overturned May 14th, 2018. Now, within hours of the information coming out on ESPN, Stephen A. Smith is spinning and creating narrative that this is some sort of targeted harassment at specific people in the NBA and warning the MLB, NHL, but specifically the NFL and MLB, you're next, basically saying you're next. This is tip of the iceberg. You're next. So what led to that? Because the investigation of this specific incident started over 2 years ago. So how could it be a targeted, and read between the lines here, how could it possibly be targeted or targeting? It's not. It's the law carrying through. The NBA investigated, they said, oh, we found nothing. The investigation continued. Just a minute. There's smoke and fire here.
Well, let's not
So,
forget the NBA doesn't have subpoena power. The
no,
NBA can't
they don't.
can't get
No, but what they do
wiretaps
have,
and those kind of
is
things.
a commissioner, right, who can control the investigation to an extent, which is what allegedly happened in 2007. And I'm not saying Silver did that here. I think he did his due diligence and just, you know, they went as far as they could and that was it. But, there's parallels here that exist that we've seen before. And for anybody to suggest that we didn't know this was happening or that this couldn't possibly happen to the NBA or this couldn't possibly happen in the NFL, it's conspiracy until it's not. And then Pandora's box is wide open. And now we've got to uncover turn over every stone and every leaf. And this rabbit hole is going to go so deep if they really get into it. I mean, there are former players that we know I don't want to call them degenerates, that are big time gamblers. Okay. Whether they're good or bad, whether they're great, whether they're Hall of Famers or D League guys, they gamble. They're competitive. It's in their blood. They want to win. And I'm not talking about guys throwing games. I'm just talking about the competitive nature of players gambling amongst themselves, whether it's poker, whether it's golf, whatever the case may be. So this has existed for a long time. And to turn around now and for ESPN or any of their talking heads to suggest in any way, shape, or form that this is now suddenly a targeting issue or harassment issue is wholly absurd. It's like it's right out of the storyline from The Last Boy Scout, right? The ratings were tanking for whatever reason. People weren't coming to games. What do we need to increase revenue? What can we do to bring people back? They legalized gambling. They made it legal. So I think the PASPA 18 being overturned led to all of this. So now, even for Congress or for the NBA commissioner, or any commissioner, to kind of like start pointing fingers at one another and going back and forth, if you hadn't overturned the law, this wouldn't have happened. It's that simple. If you don't eat sugar, you don't get diabetes. I mean,
Well,
it's
this is
it's kind of
a bipartisan committee. There's no question about it. Um, there's two chairmen. One's a doctor. Um, there's three chairmen and three ranking members that sign this. I don't know how many people there are in the committee, but
to me
certainly
this is
it's an
is kind of
issue.
window dressing because they, where were they in 2018 when this got overturned? They didn't fight to have it rescinded or turned back because I mean, to look at it now and say, oh, it's a problem, we have to do something about it. You already did something about it, and then you screwed it up by allowing that bill to get pushed through to get it overturned by the Supreme Court.
Well, right.
So
So that's what happened. It says right here, actually, in their letter, after the United States Supreme Court struck down the Professional Amateur Sport Protection Act in 1992 in Murphy versus NCAA, state-sanctioned sports betting has been legal and it's regulated by the states. Currently, 39 states in the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico have legal betting markets. So,
yeah, some states had. I think there were 5 states that had an allowance before the PASPA.
so an act is a federal act like that. I'm guessing they reversed it on what's called the Reserve Powers Clause. In the Constitution, any enumerated powers that are not specifically delegated to the federal government are reserved by the states. Marriage is one of them. So they're regulated by the states, and they did that in a way to limit the power of the federal government when the Constitution was written. So the Reserve Powers Clause is powerful. So Congress cannot regulate things that are deemed left to the state. Now, there's very
There's
there's
a lot to unpack.
there's a lot to unpack because once something becomes a national problem in the interests of the country, the scrutiny that is gauges how the Supreme Court reviews federal actions could be different because there's different ways or different standards how things are reviewed under what some are what's called strict scrutiny, like freedom of speech or something that's enumerated in the Constitution. That's given a stricter scrutiny. But there's also a balancing test that could be applied. And I would guess that was what was applied here. So there's interesting ways to do it. So time changes, right?
Yeah,
We went from, and I know you won't know what they are, but the listeners will, and that is that we went from Plessy versus Ferguson to Brown versus Board of Education. It took 50 or 60 years, but it took separate but equal and to equal under the law.
right.
It changed everything. So things change, right? Things change.
Strange.
And it's possible that this becomes such a problem, and it seems to be since we've moved from individual games and things of betting to this massive betting platform on multiple companies that you could pick up your phone in 3 seconds and bet
Place a
significant
wager
amount
of
of
any
money.
amount. Yeah,
Sure.
it's staggering. It's
It's
staggering.
it's funny, I remember years ago being, on the national championship game, being at in New Jersey where they had the I don't know if it was FanDuel Sports Betting Center at the Meadowlands, and at that point, New York was illegal, so me and my ex-father-in-law and my brother-in-law, we used to go there and watch the big games, have dinner, and, it is a lot like the stock market. The numbers go up and down, you feel trends, you feel whatever, and I remember at 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 halftime changing how I bet and pounding one thing after another, and it turned out very well. So it's constantly, you can use your phone to make all kinds of changes and bets and buyouts too. As we know, our first week we tried to do some betting or whatever, and I remember you and I were sitting around. I think I bet 4 teams, and I had won 3, and the other one was on Monday, and
Monday
you
night
and they offered me, I should say, a buyout. I don't know if it was FanDuel or
DraftKings.
DraftKings, but they offered me a buyout, and you were like, "Dude, just take it. It's good payoff." So I took it. Of course, I would have won anyway, but you're going to win once you take the buyout.
Of course, of course.
So yeah, that's really a mess, and I don't know where it's
It's
going.
only it really is the tip of the iceberg, depending on how far they really want to investigate this, because they're gonna find things that as they move forward, they're gonna uncover more, and they've already uncovered somebody in another sport, right? Now, I don't really guys are gonna play poker. They're gonna play poker. I really don't have an issue with that, but the
Well, we do
here's
because fixing the games. You can't fix a poker game. Who cares what they play? But
well, these guys apparently were playing in rigged poker games, right?
right.
So, it happens. I won't mention names, but there is a local poker game that has a former prominent athlete in their club, and you kind of tilt your head like, first of all, why are you telling me this information? But it's a draw, right? It gets people to come and spend money, whether it's thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even just a few bucks. Every dollar counts. So if you throw somebody's name out there and you're sitting around the campfire, so to speak, and they say, "Oh, that guy used to play for my favorite team. I want to go play poker with him." And you get drawn in for 100, 1,000, whatever it is, your money's green, they're going to take it. And I just, if the players themselves are involved in the fixing of the game, shame on them. But I don't necessarily, I won't blame them for going to these events to draw people in if they're getting paid on the up, regardless of the activity being illegal or underground, whatever you call it. It is what it is. And you're your own person if you're going to go get involved in something like that. But
But I think it's so. The issue is these guys know they're getting paid an amount of money, knowing that the game is fixed.
which is a huge, yeah, that is the problem. If they know that, shame on them, and they deserve to suffer whatever penalty by law is upon them for that, because that's wholly, gross. You're taking advantage of, presumably, you're taking advantage of unknowing, unwitting subjects here. But I gather that these poker games they're talking about were not necessarily just a bunch of, uh, I don't want to disparage anybody, but these are people that have money playing in these
There
games.
was yes,
Yeah, yeah. It's certainly not me.
yeah, but you can't expect them to do anything that's not a fair game, right?
Right.
So I don't, I don't know how much you want to go into the NFL this week. This seems to block out the sun, the NBA. I mean, my biggest thing is Scataboom dislocating his ankle. I mean, that's the thing that radiates in my head. We have this guy that's like participated in turning the New York Giants into a watchable, entertaining team, and he gets
Yeah,
injured. So
yeah. People are rooting for him all over the place. People come in the bar and they talk about him. And did you see the play he did this? Did you see the play he did that? He's under. They
let's not
enjoy watching him. It's entertaining.
okay when he hurt himself. To give you an idea how well liked of employer player he is, he got a standing ovation in Philadelphia.
Yeah, absolutely.
Usually they give you a standing ovation when you're knocked out and you can't play again.
Or they're booing you for getting up and getting off the field.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Terrible injury. He had surgery yesterday. Obviously your first and foremost thoughts are that, he's able to recover regardless of the seriousness of the injury. But I would say a broken ankle and considering how it looked, I mean, it was, that is not, and that's like the second or third injury like that this year, right? I think the 49ers defensive tackle, Turner, had a similar injury. And there was somebody else who's, you see the video and, the foot is facing the wrong way. You just hope that these guys can, obviously, they're going to get the best medical treatment that money can buy. And you hope the surgery takes and they're able to recover from it before you even think about them playing again. But that's definitely a serious injury. I would say it's even more serious for a running back like him, who's all power. Um, so you hope that he is able to recover, and then you see if he can come back next year from that injury and play.
Right.
Regardless of that, the Giants, they had to. They're going to be, they have to shore up their backfield. You just can't roll that kid out there. And we thought he was, if he was going to get hurt, he'd be a concussion. But again, not wishing that on the guy. But when you're out there playing that many reps and you're a running back, you're going to get hurt. And ironically enough, it happened on a pass play. And the guy just kind of came down awkward on him from behind, and he got caught and looked like he might have been trying to get out of it. Um, it's just kind of a freak play to see an injury like that. So yeah.
So the other player that you brought to my attention is maybe you could say a few words about that is Drake May.
Yeah. So Drake May has now had, I think it was 7 or 8 games in a row where he had over 200-yard passing. Um, Forgot the stat line,
So
but
here I'll read it. Drake May has achieved a remarkable streak of 7 consecutive games over 200 yards passing and a passer rating of 100 or higher.
that's pretty good.
In the latest game, he had 282 yards and 135.8 passer rating.
That's perfect.
So here's the elite group that he joined. Who else have done it? And you want to say, oh my God, Aaron Rodgers. Anything you want to say about Rodgers? I know people don't like him today. I mean, the guy's how old and he's still out there doing it?
Yep.
Ridiculous passer and whatever. Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, and Peyton Manning.
All of whom won the MVP
That
the year
year.
that they did that.
Correct. Correct. So
Crazy.
it's amazing.
Crazy stat.
Amazing. So, I mean, speaking about Aaron Rodgers, I mean, they got the once over, I mean, last night, right? I mean,
So there was a play in the game. At one point, the Green Bay jumped off sides right over the center. In fact, it was a linebacker, I think, pushed the defensive tackle, and one of them crossed over. I mean, it was a clear offsides. Center snaps the ball. Rodgers immediately looks downfield. No one's taken off deep, but he's got one guy up the right side who ran his route, probably didn't see the offsides, maybe, I don't know. But he threw a pass to him, was incomplete. Rodgers turns around looking for the offsides, thinking, I just had a free play, and he's screaming, and the officials they're like, what are you talking about? There was no offsides. I mean, the whole country saw it. Here we go again, right? Now, I don't know if that play would have changed the game. It certainly was a momentum shift because Green Bay got the ball back after they didn't convert, and I believe they scored a touchdown on the next drive. So that was something that also happened in the Giants game. You had the tush push, You've got a quarterback basically laying flat parallel on top of the guard's ass. The play's over as far as I'm concerned, but he's still trying to reach forward. I don't know how it wasn't already blown dead short of the line to gain. He goes to reach out. Uh, I think it was Thibodeau takes the ball away. He comes out of this scrum with the ball, and they give the Eagles a first down.
Forward motion.
Right. So how was his forward motion not stopped when he fell on top of the tackle or guard, whoever he was laying on top of? Because at that moment, the play was over in my mind. That when he reached for it, I thought, well, that's after the fact. That's like, you're already down. You're not getting that. And they gave it to him. They completely botched that play. To me, it's either he's short of the line, plays over, or it's a fumble because he took it away from him. Because if you're going to allow him to reach like that, the play's not over. That's a live ball as far as I'm concerned. Because you're saying that he's still on his feet. So if he's still on his feet, he's not down. That's a live ball. So, uh, the officiating seems to get worse and worse. And then the talking heads say, oh, well, it didn't really matter because the game wasn't close. But at that time, it was a 7-7 game. Philly scores a touchdown on that drive. So they go up 14-7. Let's just say, for all intents and purposes, the Giants
14,
just stop them and they don't score. And it's still
14-7, 14-7 the other way.
right. So the game might have been, what was it, 33-20 something, 30, whatever, 38-20 something, right? 38-20, 30, whatever it was. But what if it was 31-27 final? What if the Giants had the ball at the end of the game? I know there's a lot of what ifs. Just saying that play clearly affected the outcome of the game. But
I agree. I agree with you 100%.
also, again, the Giants' defensive coaching has completely failed in their ability to make these players play. They were Saquon's 65-yard touchdown. They're in a cover two. They were in a 5-man front over. All you had to do in this game was stop Saquon from getting to the outside. The Eagles have not been able to run inside all year. Their number one wide receiver was a healthy scratch. They haven't been throwing the football well lately, yes, but they haven't been throwing the football well all year. So their best receiver's out. They haven't been run blocking inside. It's not that hard to come up with a game plan. I know he's an all-world player, but he scored on a 65-yard touchdown run that was RPO played where he gets to the tackle and cuts upfield. Their linebackers are caught inside. The safety's nowhere to be found. By the time the guy came up to make the play, it looked like he didn't even want any part of Saquon. And he's not the primary tackler there, not in cover two anyway. He's got to be 10 yards away from Saquon when you see him. I can't tackle this guy. And Saquon isn't even past. He's at least 5 yards away when he makes the turn outside. The defender already is running for the end zone. It was like rewatching it again and looking at the play in slow motion. I'm like, this doesn't look right. The corner who's run support in that coverage on that defense got locked up by the wide receiver. So really the only guy who could have changed the outcome of the play was Abdul Carter, who looked like he over pursued. Then he gets held. As Saquon breaks it, he turns like this, and he's got him by the jersey. Now, I'm not saying they should have called it because he was so far out of the play that I don't think it would have mattered. My point about him is that was a coaching thing where he over pursued. He's too far in the backfield. He didn't attack inside. Yes, he's supposed to set the edge, but he over pursued. Saquon cut it back, and he's gone. So the Giants' defensive coordinator has had a terrible week between last Sunday and this Sunday, and he's got to go. That's all I'm going to say about it. I said last week they should have left him on the tarmac in Denver.
I agree.
They should have made him walk home from Philly.
He was so bad. I mean, whatever. So let's move on to a happier thought. The Jets.
Well, first, let's say rest in peace, Nick Mangold. Horrible, tragic loss.
Absolutely.
41 years old. Less than 2 weeks ago, 11 days he reached out for help via Twitter and social media, disclosing that he had this genetic defect and he needed a kidney. And I just, I'm beside myself because I'm O positive, and I read that letter thinking, man, I hope this guy can find somebody. You take for granted that someone of that stature is going to find a donor right away.
He waited too long.
It's heartbreaking. My condolences to his family, his wife, his 4 children, the Jets. I know I go off about the Jets, but I did like Nick Mangold as a player. I was still a fan then, and I very much enjoyed having him on the Jets, even though he was from Ohio State. As a Michigan fan, I can wholeheartedly tell you that when they drafted him, I was very happy. And the guy was just a tremendous person. You hear people talk about how cool he is, how down to earth he was, and it's just it's tragic. And I'm sorry. Seeing Rex break down on Sunday and some other players talking about him, just that was a gut shot. And maybe it motivated the Jets to play better. I don't know. Um, they did play the worst defense in the league, but good for them. They got their first win. I'm glad it was that day because it was a sentimental win, I guess, from a lot of perspectives.
I agree. I agree. They played better and all. Is there any other I'd like to, we kind of stuck to the NBA today. Is there any other games you want to mention or?
The Ravens, I thought, was an important victory for them because they sent out their backup quarterback, Huntley. They didn't send out Cooper Rush, which I thought was a we talked about that last week, why he didn't
Yeah,
play, who should play. So they won that game. They got a big contribution from their running back, old world Derrick Henry. They still have questions, obviously, on defense, but their schedule is very favorable moving forward. And this was an important game for them to win because I don't think anybody was certain that they could win this game. And then when Lamar was listed as out, I think that changed everything. And for them to win that game showed some resolve. And moving forward for them, they can use that momentum. Hopefully, and Lamar gets another week of rest. And I think they play on Thursday night, if I'm not mistaken. So that extra couple of days of rest is paramount, I think, for his success when he comes back. And they have to take advantage of this part of the schedule. I heard Maurice Jones-Drew today say that he thought that the Ravens were going to win this division. I was like, "What?" But they are very
I
much
heard that
still
too.
alive for the division, even though I think they're 3 or 4 games back of the division leader in the loss column. So we'll see. There's really nothing else that sticks out. I mean, we could talk about, you know, it was what, 6 teams on bye, 8 teams on bye this week.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
how
it was
about we
kind of
just
a
say a few words about the World Series?
yeah.
I mean, everybody, that's all you hear. That's all you heard before the first game that, Dodgers are unbelievable team, so much power, greatest player that ever lived, blah, 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 blah. And what happens? Toronto comes out and kicks their butt.
In game 1 anyway. Yeah.
Yep.
They got a good pitching performance from Savage.
Yep.
I think Blake Snell looked kind of off. I'm not putting it on him because the Toronto just they were hitting the ball all night. Pinch hit grand slam from Varger. Still can't say it. Varsho, whatever the guy's name
Whatever.
is. Yeah,
Everybody knows who it is.
I feel like I feel like Dr. Evil. What are you saying? I can't say it. But yeah, that they won the first game is important. Their record indicates they have to take advantage of being at home. I know they lost game 2 at home, and for them, that's kind of a crushing blow because their road record is not good. But they were good on the road in the last series, so maybe they're not affected by that here in the playoffs. It's hard to root for Toronto. It's the only thing they have that I can hold on to is that Mattingly is the hitting coach, and I
Absolutely.
love to see him win a World Series at
Me
any
too.
capacity.
Me too.
Because if anybody deserves it, it's him. And that's not to take anything away from their players or their coaching staff. Toronto, I'm a Yankees fan. I don't effing like them. I didn't like them when I was a kid. I don't like them now. It's heartbreaking to see Mattingly in a Toronto uniform. But if they win, that would be awesome. But again, the Dodgers are absolutely loaded. I mean, they can play any kind of baseball. And when you consider that Shohei Ohtani isn't hitting once, and he's going to hit, right? It's not like he can't play on the big stage. He has before, and he's pitching, and he's been great on the mound. So, I hate them because they're the Dodgers, but I also hate that they got him the way they did. I don't care that he didn't come to the Yankees. I didn't really think he was going to come here. At that point, it's kind of an embarrassment of riches, like when they got A-Rod, But the Dodgers, especially in the wake of this gambling scandal, I can't wait to see where this goes. This guy has, I don't understand how it's possible the commissioner allowed this to happen. $2 million a year for this guy, and the money gets deferred, and it's like comp money. It doesn't sit well with me at all. And the only,
Agreed. We talked about it before. It's a
yeah,
joke. It's a
it's a
joke.
joke. And the only thing that I can think of is this: the commissioner owed the Dodgers. The commissioner owed them something because he knew the Astros cheated to beat them. So this is the payback. You can have the best player and you don't have to pay him up front. And it's a wash. And they can make a ton of money with this guy in
Right.
advertising and marketing and sales and jerseys and seats and tickets and everything else. So once again, it's all about money. So,
Agreed.
it's money talks and BS walks. So if the Dodgers, there's no question in my mind, that is the deal that was made. The Yankees weren't getting that deal. Even though the Astros cheated to beat them, the Yankees were never getting that deal. No chance. Because if they were, they would have given it to Soto, right? They would have paid Soto $2 or $4 million a year, and he would have got $1 billion. So no chance that was in line for anybody else but the Dodgers. And that does not sit well with me because it tarnishes the integrity of baseball, which to me is still America's pastime. It's the one sport that had integrity for a very long time until recently, and now it's everything that I believed or knew or thought as a child is all shot to crap.
Here, here. All right. So last thing, F1. So F1 was in Mexico City this weekend. Lando Norris won pole position. He led the race by a stupid amount. At some points, 20 something seconds. It was a one car race for him. There was a huge collision on the first corner. Hamilton gets fined, not fined, but, get 10-second penalty, blah, 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 blah. A lot of stuff went on. But at the end of the day, Leclerc and Max Verstappen come in second and third. And now you have this new race for the world championship where Norris is now leading by 1 point.
Oh wow.
Oscar Pistorius somehow, did I say Pistorius? But Oscar got has having, I don't know, car issues, this issues. No one not sure what's going on there. I'm sure someone is, but I'm not. And they're very close. I mean, Lando's ahead by 1 point or 2 points, and Max is 30 points, 40 points away in third. So, with 4 races left,
That's pretty tight.
yeah, it's gonna be something to watch the rest of the week. So I look forward to seeing it. We'll kind of leave it there because there's going to be all new cars next year. They're going to be totally different than anything they had before. So
Faster and lighter, I heard.
they're going to be smaller, narrower, smaller. There's going to be more electronics to them. It's made to have more wheel-to-wheel racing, which everybody seems to crash this year. So I'm sure there's going to be more of it. I guess it's exciting. And we'll see what happens.
Certainly interesting. I mean, there's a
Yep.
lot of money in that sport.
Ugh,
Obscene amounts of money.
ridiculous. And now the rumor is that the gentleman, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, from Red Bull, who had been let go in July for some sexual misconduct allegations, is buying into another team that he's raised 1.3 billion to come into another team, and that's going to change the whole dynamic again. And then you have Cadillac coming on, you have Audi bought a team, you're going to have Audi cars, You're gonna have GM cars. You're gonna have a lot of shit going on there. So
So the two guys from McLaren, they're at the top of this list.
right,
Are they the ones that wrecked 2 weeks ago?
smashed into each other
Yeah,
during qualifying.
during
Yes.
qualifying. Okay.
Oh, I don't know if it was during qualifying. I take it back. They smashed into each other and they both got no points that allowed Max to catch up.
Got it.
Yes,
So but he's still behind in points,
correct.
but he's within striking distance. Okay, that makes sense.
Depending on what happens. Yes,
Yeah. So he still has to win at least 2 races.
and others have to have no points,
Yeah,
which is possible if you wreck your car.
certainly, especially the way those 2 guys are racing each other. Where's the Italian guy? I don't see him out. Where is he?
Which one?
Antonelli.
Antonelli,
Oh, there he is.
Mercedes. He ran a pretty good race. He had made some.
Oh,
You
he's
know,
so far behind
e-
in points though. Wow.
everybody was a little crazy with the radio. Antonelli was being followed by Russell, and the team said, let him go by. And he was like, let him go by. I ain't letting him go by. I can beat this guy up here.
Yeah,
And they go,
yeah.
please let him go by. He goes, all right, I'll let him go by. But if he doesn't pass the guy in front of me, I want it back. And that's what happened. It was funny on the
Wow.
radio. They're having full blown conversations, like straightforward. There were a lot of them. A lot
And
of them.
these guys are in their 20s racing these cars.
Some of them are younger than that.
Hundreds of millions of dollars on a 20-year-old.
And
It's unbelievable.
what's great is the people that
Most
are
of them anyway, it seems.
they're kind of the same age have been racing together since they're children. They constantly show pictures of them winning, go-kart races together. So they've progressed their whole lives to get up to where, which isn't long.
Yeah, so they've been doing it
Right.
forever. Wow.
So
God bless them.
great. All right. I think we'll leave it there, don't you think? All right. So here we go. Have a good one. I'll
Nice
see you
job
next
this
week.
weekend.
Yep.
See you next week. Thanks, Steve.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.